Hello and welcome to the Flipping and Wholesaling Houses in New York show. I am Michael Pinter, where I teach you how to start flipping or wholesaling houses in New York. Trying to get this mic better, or if you're already doing it, how to grow your business. Now, I spoke last about an acquisition manager. Now I'm talking about a dispositions manager. So while there are acquisition managers on large multifamily companies, I think a disposition manager is something that is unique to short-term residential real estate investment companies like mine. So I am mostly a short-term investor, right? Which means I'm going into contract and assigning the contract, or I'm buying something and then doing work and selling it soon, or doing no work and selling it soon. So disposition manager to me has a few responsibilities. First is to continue to build a cash buyers list, right? So I try to wholesale as many properties as I can. I can't wholesale everything. I probably wholesale about half, but I'm trying to constantly build more cash buyers that are interested in rehabbing properties in my area so that I can sell my wholesale deals for as much money as possible. So that is step one. Now that is something that most disposition managers don't get compensated for directly, right? Because they don't get paid for when they actually add people to the list. But when a deal comes up and they have more people to show it to, and they usually are given a percentage of the profits on the deal, the more people on the list should result in more profits. Not necessarily, but it should over time. But the main responsibilities of a disposition manager in my company and companies like mine are to find cash buyers for deals that we're trying to wholesale, and to find buyers for properties that we own and are selling. So we might buy a property and we might wholesale it, so do very little work and put it out, or we might do a complete rehab and put it out. But either way, someone has to manage those buyers, showings, and the basic sale of a property. Now, disposition managers should be licensed. Additionally, in my company and some other companies, I take listings too, and the disposition manager is responsible to run that listing. So that means sitting at open houses and dealing with regular buyers and being a liaison between the seller of the property and our company and me, and a liaison between all the buyers and me. And we have to juggle, usually multiple offers, and communicate with the seller as to which offer we, recommend they take, and what choices they have. So it's not as easy as it sounds. It seems easy, right? If you put out a property and you get multiple offers, you think it's great, but it's not so simple, because very often offers are very similar. Very often offers are different, but not just overpriced. So let me give you an example. We had recently a situation where we had a higher offer from someone who was going to get an FHA loan, and we had a slightly lower offer from someone who was going to get a conventional loan and put, I think, over 20 or 25% down. We recommended to the seller to take the slightly lower offer because FHA financing takes longer, and that we knew that in this case they were going to probably require some things to be built, like railings and things that the seller did not want to do. So we took slightly less money because it was in the seller's best interest. But when you recommend that, you run the risk that buyer that you recommend falls apart, right? Every time a standard contract goes into place on residential real estate, there is, not every time, but almost every time, there's a mortgage contingency. And what that mortgage contingency means is that if the person can't get a mortgage, can't get financing, they can get out of the loan. I was in the mortgage business for 17 years, and I can tell you that standard contract, really, that contingency is a get out of contract free card. And I can't tell you how many times I've either given somebody a denial. It's very easy to deny somebody for a mortgage. Very easy. Somebody asks for a denial just for no reason other than they change their mind. It's very easy to deny someone. So it is possible that you recommended to the seller that they should take offer X instead of offer Y, and offer X ends up being a dud that drags along for a couple of months. That's happened. It's happened to me on deals that I've sold. It's happened to me on deals that we've listed. It is a risk, right? It's hard to tell. We do as much vetting as possible with the pre-approvals in the mortgage company, but you never really know. So disposition manager's job is to show properties, take offers, vet the offers, so see which offer is better. Really, are we comparing apples to apples? Squeeze as much money out of every offer as possible, right? You want to get as much right? It's the dispositions manager's job to get as much money as possible on every deal, whether it's a wholesale deal, whether it's a listing, whether it's a property that we rehabbed and we're selling, whatever it is. Dispositions manager's job is to get as much money, and the dispositions manager is paid a percentage of either the sale price or the profits on the deal, depending on how it works. And I had a full-time dispositions manager, but I think at this point I'm going to go part-time with some other people. And I believe that it's a job that is not as hard as an acquisitions manager, because on an acquisitions manager, you really are trying to convince, I shouldn't say convince, you are trying to get deals from sellers at a discount. On a dispositions manager, the one that works for me, I'm handing you these deals on a plate. Your job is just to get the most out of it. Now, are there deals that don't work out? Sure. Are there deals where we have to drop the price? Of course. Are there deals where the seller wants too much and we're listing it for them and it becomes an issue? Of course. But most of the time, especially in today's market, things are going to sell. Now, there is going to be a time, I don't know if this is in 6 months or 6 years from now, where it's going to be hard to disposition properties, right? It's going to become a buyer's market instead of what we're in now, which is a seller's market, right? There's very little inventory and it's pretty easy to sell. The hardest part really sometimes is coming up with the asking price and to get it to the right price, right? But if you get it right, it should sell very quickly. So it's important, I believe, to understand that besides coming up with an asking price, one of the hardest things a dispositions manager does is juggle these multiple offers. So let me tell you things that I did when I was the disposition manager. Multiple offers come in. You want to squeeze everyone as high as they can, but you don't want to lose them, right? You don't want to drop these balls. You got a bunch of balls in the air, and it does happen that you do drop a ball, right? You'll tell somebody, "I'm sorry, I have a higher offer," and you do have an higher offer, and that guy will go goodbye. He'll go buy another house, and the higher offer will go away, and then you blew what could have been a very good offer. So you have to understand what the market is giving you on each deal, and you have to try to keep as many buyers on the hook as possible. But it's not easy. Most buyers want an answer, yes or no. And if you're telling them, I'm waiting for somebody else, very often they're going to go somewhere else. So that is basically what a dispositions manager does. Now, I believe that a dispositions manager should be, on their computer working cash buyer leads and also retail leads. The problem with keeping a database of retail leads is that a lot of a regular buyer that's looking for a house in City X is that person is eventually going to find a property if they're serious. Most people will. So you got to catch up on them and say, hey, did you find the property? Are you still looking? That kind of thing. It's work. It takes work. But I believe that it's still a part-time job. Hopefully, at some point, I'll have enough deals that it'll be a full-time job. But for now, I think it's a part-time job, and I'm happy with hiring some part-time help. So I'm looking for somebody. If you're interested, I really need you to be licensed. It's very important. But you don't need to be licensed before. You can get I believe anybody can get licensed within 2 or 3 weeks. That's how easy I think it is. And I've spoken about this before. Anybody who's doing this in this business should be licensed for 3 reasons. Number 1, access to the multiple listing service, MLS, the best way to comp out properties by far. 2 is to list your own properties if you're doing this business. So you can list wholesale properties. You're just not allowed to represent that you own the property. You have to list the owner as a contract vendee. And 3 is because if you go on enough appointments, you're going to come into contact with situations with sellers who should list or who really want to list. And if you're not licensed, then you're just giving away that commission. I think it's foolish, right? I have 2 active listings right now, and I have 5 that are coming up. It's money, and I spent money on the marketing. There's no reason for me not to make money on the deals that are going to get listed. Let's face facts. In any given market, on average, 90%, 9 out of 10 houses are going to get sold on the MLS listed with an agent. We're trying to squeeze a bit of the 10%, but a lot of them are going to end up selling on the market, and you're fooling yourself if you think that you're going to convince somebody who should list on the market not to. So I hope this was helpful. If you're interested in all the ways I can help you, go to howtoflipnewyork.com. If you are interested in a course I have that teaches how to do what I do, go to howtoflipnewyorkcourse.com, COURSE. And if you are interested in finding out more about one-on-one coaching I offer, go to coaching.howtoflipnewyork.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe. If you're watching on any marketing channel, any media channel, please click the thumbs up. The likes really help me. And please keep the comments coming. I post 5 times a week. I don't always know what to say. The comments and questions really, really help me. If it's something simple, I'll just reply with an answer. If it's something that I've covered before, I'll send you links to the videos. And if it's something new, I will do a brand new video on it. So thank you very, very, very much for watching.